on the Oregon coast, and I put some stickers up in one town.
So when it comes to large-scale mural cover-ups, make sure that you are always consulting a director for something like that, or you are consulting me. It is something, generally as the activism becomes higher in risk or scale, the more you need to get consultation.
Eventually we get to the point where the cops are, before that, the college kid, they're like questioning Floyd and ask him for his like ID and stuff. And so I go sit down on the highway barricade, and there's a college kid there. I'm like, how's your night going? He's like, better than yours. And I was like, I've been through worse. It could be a lot worse, He's being real smug about it. And then he's like, the cop asked, like, well, what does this mean? Victory or death? And I was like, well, it means we must be victorious in our pursuits, or we must face death, because America is ruled by a foreign hostile elite, and the corruption is too deep. I'm like, I'm sure you guys know all about corruption. So I said to the cops.
Nice.
The college kid, he said something. I was like, well, he's like, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean corrupt? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, okay, like, dude, are you proud to be an American? He's like, yeah, I am actually. I'm like, why? He's like, because we're freedom. I'm like, oh, okay, freedom? You think like massive government surveillance is freedom? Do you think the Patriot Act is freedom? Do you think, all these terrible things the federal government does is freedom? Like, I'm gonna have to disagree with you, man. And he's like, well, like, at least we're like protected. I'm like, all right, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but last I checked, no one has ever tried to smuggle an explosive device through airport security since 9/11. And like, even that is like ambiguous,
Well, I mean, he should have pulled and here I am being detained for allegedly dropping a banner.
Yeah, here I am, allegedly. That's actually a really good one. That's great, actually. Wish I had thought of that.
Yeah, because remember, banner drops aren't really a crime unless you destroy property or trespass doing it. Like, they could have booked you, but they would have had to release you afterwards because there's literally not a crime that they could charge you with.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I think they were trying to scare us because they were looking at Floyd and talking to him, and they're taking his photo and all that, and they're like, yeah, this is a crime, this is vandalism, you're going to go to jail. I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, they're going to take us down to jail for the night for this. Like, this sucks.
I mean, it's a scare tactic. Like, they'll throw around threats like that. I mean, they'll threaten to dox you to, like, journalists and shit like that. Like, it's all an act.
Yep. And I knew, but I was like, but the thing is, I don't think Floyd was, like, looking super hot at the time either, I mean, I didn't see his face, but, like, I could kind of, like, get the feeling like, dude, he's not, like, stalwart, I guess, like I am. So anyway, they pulled me up to, like, Mr. Lawrence, Florida. I walk forward, fix my posture, stand up tall and proud, look him in the eye, and he's like, please remove your hat. And I take off the hat, and he's like, you look way different with your hair. And I didn't say anything. I just give him the smirk, They get my photo. So the thing in the police report now is just me smirking at the camera. Like no fear, no, super confident in myself. And then after that, we were talking for a bit, and the cops like, yeah, man, like we saw you up there on there. And, like they were like genuinely impressed with our ability to get that up there. Like one cop was like, yeah, dude, I saw you up there. And I was like, saw you hanging half your body over the fence. I was like, oh my God, like this guy's gonna kill himself. And I was like, oh, come on, guys. What are you guys? My mom, she's got enough to worry about. Ha ha ha. And so like me and all the cops were just like having like a laugh about it. And the sheriff's all like, yeah, like I actually agree with what you guys are saying, but like you can't do that. And then I was like, oh, okay. So like what is like a legal way to do things? Like once again, kind of playing dumb, but also being nice, and respectful. And he like gives me some like bullshit about how you need permits and all that. I'm sitting there thinking oh yeah, that makes so much sense. How could I have like not understood that? Like, oh man, well, thanks for informing me, officer. And so anyway, I was like, well, are we free to go? And he's like, yes, you're free to go. But it went from you're going to jail to you're free to go. Like, oof.
Yeah, you basically there's an art dealing with cops, and playing dumb is one way to get optimal results. Because you need to remember that. Oh, go on, Vincent.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like the difference between city police and sheriffs is quite different as well. We were doing some banner creation, and we had some county sheriffs roll in on us, asking us questions, and we, played it maybe a little differently than maybe it would have been with the city police, because the sheriffs rolled in and they were just asking questions and being a little weird about it. But I was going to ask Lawrence whether or not he was doing the city or like sheriff police, but it's out of the room now.
Oh, he said it was the sheriffs. So that was in Florida. So they all answer to the local Jews. So
You guys see that in the network chat? We made it on Twitter again.
I mean, I saw mentions of a banner drop in where was it? Auburn, Washington. Their picture was really shitty.
Yeah, I saw that. You could barely see the banner through the rainy window.
If y'all saw that the George Floyd statue in New York got vandalized again, and it wasn't us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's like a new George Floyd statue that they put up, and some guy like splashed paint on it.
From a skateboard, right?
Yeah, the guy was like on a skateboard, like in broad daylight, splashed paint on it and left.
Was that the Union Square deal?
Yeah, I think so. Because that was like the one that didn't have Patriot front stencils on it. There's like a second George Floyd statue was put up because people idolize that criminal nigger for some reason.
Goes to show that activism works. Goes to show that if you show people that you can do something like this and you can get away with it, it encourages other people to do something, and it slowly builds and builds until you have people who realize that the system holds no power over us, and that we actually can do something to start fighting back. You don't have to just sit there and watch them oppress. You can actually do something and fight back.
That's right.
Well, yeah, it's like all the parents going to school boards and like harassing school board, officials for the whole CRT shit, right? Like these school board officials are actually like legitimately afraid right now because they have like parents like literally like harassing them over the anti-white shit being taught in schools. Like, we're just getting started here. Like, I honestly think that the Jewish neoliberal order that rules the United States is basically in a death spiral at this point.
Well, it's always been in a somewhat of a death spiral since it's an entirely materialistic order. It doesn't value any longevity. It values pleasure in the here and now, and it's only really about trying to prolong how long they can continue to sit atop their pile of material wealth. So the longevity or sustainability was never their intention.
Well, I don't know. I think that they naively thought they could keep it going forever. Well, at least the thing is like as long as there's like material goods and wealth in the nation, people are satisfied with whatever is being put forward. And, the moment like prosperity disappears, have as much money, or material goods, basically they're going to have no oil to it.
Yeah, but it's more in a sense that in a way they're bitter, like in the same way that Lucifer is himself bitter because he knows, and they all know that their time on this earth is short, and so they want to just in a way drag down as many people with them as possible. it's very like a bareness knowing that they can never succumb to anything that will mount like eternity. Nothing they create will ever outlast them or outlast this world. And so they just this desire to destroy and bring down anything else that can.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on that one. The thing is, too, is that a lot of the architects behind the problems that we see today are very old, most of them. Like, any year now that they could die, and they fucking know that. So they're trying to accelerate their agenda because they want to see their destruction, come to fruition in their lifetime.
Or ensure that eventually they'll fall, that they'll follow them.
Yeah, no. The thing is, too, like a lot of these people are Jews and they don't believe in eternal life. So, they think that once their time's up, that's it. Jews are very materialistic in that regard during their lifetimes. I mean, we all know that Jews are going to hell because they're Christ killers, but it's besides the point. If that makes any sense.
Howdy, folks.
Alexander Organ, welcome to the
Hey, what's
channel.
up, Alexander?
Oh, shit. Now I'm getting another call.
Rip. Well, I'm going to get off. We'll talk to y'all later.
All right, you have a good night.
What's up, Washington?
Hey, we're just waiting for our meeting, I think.
We said meeting tomorrow night, not tonight.
You guys have you guys are way different time zone. That makes sense. What time is your guys' meeting then?
He did say tomorrow.
Yeah, our meeting's usually at 7. It's usually
Oh, yeah, I just noticed that. I just saw 7.
Hello, all Network A&W Washington guys. We are not having a meeting tonight. I said we were having the meeting tomorrow on
I just told
Monday.
them that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, guys. Jeez.
I'm gonna follow him. Good night.
All right, David, get out of here. So how's Washington, guys?
It's good, Summer's winding down, but still a beauty.
I'm trying to remember, Ethan. You've been here for like a month now.
Yeah, about that.
Vincent, how long have you been with Washington?
Since the first week of August.
First week of August. I don't remember if we've talked before. I can't remember.
I don't think so, but nice to meet you.
Okay, yeah, you're pretty new then, I see.
Did I miss something at the end there? I didn't hear about that.
I don't know. I'm just laughing that we're in a meeting that's not a meeting.
Well, what's up, guys? What happened? Oh, we both misread when the meeting was going to be this week. Usually we have meetings on Sundays, but I guess this week it was supposed to be on a Monday. And we had a couple of people join early, and then David let us know that the meeting's actually supposed to be on Monday.
I thought it was always Monday. That's how I've always done them. But okay. Anyway, well, how are you guys doing?
Sorry about that. I was dragged into a room with Thomas. He told me I'm doing such a great job. I'm getting promoted to the leader of this organization. Can you believe that, Lawrence?
I can believe it.
You can believe it?
Yeah.
I guess he loves me.
Yeah, I can believe you're doing a good job.
Congrats.
It's all lies, guys. I'm losing the position. Have you been talking to James at all, Lawrence? James, Texas.
Oh, James, Texas or James, Arizona?
Well, I guess we have James, Arizona now and James, Texas to talk to, don't we? What the hell?
He didn't specify. I was like, oh, cool, James, Arizona. I'm pretty sure his means James, Arizona.
Yeah, James,
Oh,
Texas
awesome.
is going to be is going for the active director of the one of the Texas networks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been in contact
Awesome.
with him
Awesome.
quite a bit. I've never talked to Arizona. I've never talked to anyone from Arizona. Missouri and Arizona, we're very different people.
Yeah, so it seems.
You know, the Missouri man and the Florida man, there's a little bit of similarity there. It's both, you know, subtropical conditions, right?
I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I guess. I've never been to Missouri, so I wouldn't know.
Is it pretty humid over there in Florida all the time?
Yeah, every time you walk outside, it gets sweaty. It's pretty annoying.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same way in Missouri, except we actually have a winter.
Yeah, there's just summer here forever, which is kind of neat, I guess. Kind of like
I've never
Hyperborea.
experienced that. I wonder how that is. That'd be weird.
Kind of like Hyperborea.
Oh, I see. Let's see. I thought Hyperborea would be winter forever.
Well, apparently it's where the sun never sets and the golden age never ends.
I see. Yeah, I don't know if I could. I mean, I guess I could adapt. So, like in the winter, our winter time, what do your temperatures get down to? Like, what's the temperature drop? Is it significant?
I don't know. It probably doesn't go past like 60, honestly.
I see. How was moving?
probably
When
like-
you moved, did you have to adapt quite a bit?
Like when I moved from Washington to Florida.
Yeah, that's a huge difference in seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of annoying not having a real like season. There's just hot. I mean, there's just wet and dry season here. So
Oh,
we're
wet and dry,
entering.
huh?
We're in the. Yeah, it's like Egypt, you know. There's only the wet season and the dry season. So we're like India, probably. They don't have a fall. They don't have a spring. They're just wet, dry. I mean, like in the summer, the grass grows like in a week's time. The grass has to be mown like every 2 weeks. It grows that fast because there's so much rain and so much sunlight.
Yes.
I used to live in the Midwest, and we had, the summers that would get up to 100 degrees, and the winters that would get down to negative 40. I don't miss the summers, but I miss the winters a lot. So it's funny hearing somebody talk about the lack of seasons down south, which I've never really lived down south for an extended period of time. But I just think of Washington as having such more subdued seasons compared to some of the middle states.
Yeah, Washington's nice and mild all year round. I mean, summer gets kind of hot. Winter, it doesn't really get all that cold. It's Western Washington anyway. It's really mild. It's nice.
It's kind of like a wet and dry season up here too.
I mean, a little bit, but it's kind of wet, At least there's good. The trees change color and it's fall, and it's cold outside, but it's not so cold, And then it's winter and it gets a little snowy, but only a little bit snowy. And then spring comes along. It's still kind of nippy, but kind of warm. And then summer, it's sometimes you get your a lot of cold days or cloudy days, but it's also kind of sunny too. But never excruciatingly hot, except that one day you had 110-degree day.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, we didn't even have any of those days in Florida. I mean, I had a 110-degree day when I was in Australia.
Oh,
That
wow.
was neat. Yeah. 40 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
What was that, Western Australia or something?
No, it was in Melbourne, so eastern. Southeastern.
Oh, okay.
I've never been into the interior.
House there, sir?
Yeah, that's my little boy.
You have a bird.
Oops.
I've never been to the interior of Australia. I've only been to the Melbourne and the city. As furthest I've gone in the country is we go to Daylesford, where there's this big lavender farm. It's really nice. You gotta have lavender scones and tea and stuff.
Lavender ice cream.
Yeah, they got that too. I got a little drunk on like this pear cider they had there. So I was like, oh, cool, pear cider, that sounds good. And it was really good, and I drank all of it. I was like, uh-oh, I feel a little weird now. Yeah. And I don't drink alcohol.
And it's like 12%.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah. I met up with the Identity Australia guys while I was there too, so that was cool. They're all in NSN now, or whatever it's called.
Oh, okay. I didn't know they were like a group before that.
Yeah, there was a group. This one guy, Jacob, he's in jail now, but he flew all the way down from Sydney to come meet me in Melbourne. So.
Oh, really? Actually, he's not in jail. He's on bail, but his bail conditions are he can't like do anything in your network or talk online. So.
Yeah, it's annoying because it's just like they get in trouble for like stupid shit, you know, like stuff that we don't really have a problem with, thankfully. But like, if you get in a fight, like, dude, like, you best hope to God no one sees it, or you know, because they you know, that's what Thomas Sowell got screwed over, was just like fighting some random guy. Like that one punch is like what screwed him for a good while. Like it probably would have just been better to take the punches, honestly, and just get beaten up, because at least you'd be free.
Yeah, and then it was that, because they were hiking or whatever, and then it sounds like it was Antifa confronted them, and then there's a claim of armed robbery or whatever, because, like,
yeah,
allegedly they, like, took that guy's phone. Although they're saying, he was saying, like, oh, just take my phone, is that what you want? Take it.
I don't know. That's annoying.
Yeah, basically just fucking anarchists agitating, and then when you win the fight, then it's an armed robbery and you're in fucking jail.
Yeah, is that what it was? I was wondering like how it's armed robbery. But yeah,
that's pretty much what I got out of it.
I like you don't want to in there too. They had a in their ranks who like kind of ruined stuff with them. I don't know. I mean, maybe we should push people for body cameras, like hidden cameras and stuff. Like, I've never experienced that here yet, but like, I guess it isn't out of the realm of possibilities, you know, for a Fed to do something like that. But like, not that we're doing anything illegal, you know what I mean? Like, other than like something petty like graffiti, but like, they're not gonna, you know, it's not really worth their time. Or maybe it is worth it. Maybe they could make it worth their time, but more often than not, I don't feel like they really go hard on street artists, you know. That's like actual graffiti gangs like all over the place, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I've never heard of them getting RICO or anything like that, you know? And it's like, technically, you know, it's a group of people and they commit crime. So it is a criminal organization in some respects. But like, not like, you know, not really all that criminal either, you know what I mean? It's difficult to call it a criminal organization.
Maybe a mischievous organization.
Maybe they do a little trolling kind of organization. An organization that does a little trolling. Dude, the U.S.-Canadian border up like where like Minnesota and like Michigan and all that is so messed up. Like, it's just so janky. These borders are horrible. We do a little trolling. The organization.
I was going to mention to you, Lawrence, before, since you were talking about the run-in with police. Some of us had our first police interaction as members as we were doing banner creation at this park. That's a favorite park of John's. Some sheriffs rolled in on us, and they were, I don't know, the Parks Department, I guess, was very upset to see people making banners, and they didn't say that it was regarding anything political, but they they kind of had that sense. One of the Park Department people who drove by looked very, very seething, upset that there were people making patriotic banners in their neighborhood because we immediately flipped the URL over and everything. I don't even know if we got as far as URL when the Parks Department came by. But the Sheriff's Department came by and they were just asking questions and saying, oh, the Parks Department doesn't really want you here, and we didn't push it at the time, but they didn't ask for IDs or anything like that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I mean, how does the Parks Department people, like, do they have, like, a little building there? I mean, we make banners there all the time. Maybe they only just start taking notice.
I think we just got unlucky, just because there happened to be a couple of people over there on that day in the Parks Department just happened to roll by in their little cart.
Yeah, well, they'll do it. Sometimes it's unlucky, but, 99% of the time we've been there. We've never had an issue, so it should be fun to go back to again and just be like, fuck the Parks Department.
You guys need a place to go with your best guys that you trust. I do it in my house with my most trusted men. That's how I do it. I also have a shop we can do it at, and also have commercial property. Someone has to have something like that, right?
Yeah, like John could take one guy. Like, honestly, you only need 2 people to make banners efficiently. Like, me and Jack cranked out like
choking
5.
too much.
Yeah, exactly. It's just people standing around not doing anything, and it's just kind of, yeah. You only really need 2 people to make banners. It's the rule of 2. Making banners is like, it's like venom. It's stronger when you concentrate it. Okay. So the less people, the more concentrated the banner efficiency is.
I've created a workshop in my basement, and we have been working down there every Friday for like 6 hours every Friday, and we had 4 guys there, and it was bad. We got less done than 2.
Mm-hmm. The rule of 2. You're like Sith Lords.
Yeah, I ended up taking the stencils and canvas and everything, so I was just gonna crank them out in my backyard this week, like the rest of them.
Yeah, if you have like John or someone, just like one other guy that will help you, you'll get it done super fast.
I was probably just gonna have my wife help me.
Oh, there you go, even better.
Then nobody has to drive.
There you go. That's nice to have. I was annoyed because like Jack Florida has got like some girl that he's like with now, and he's like not talking to me, and he's like too busy. Like I'll bet good money she's been at his house all week. They work together, and they're probably going back to his place every single night because Grant isn't there right now. So obviously he's just gonna have her live there. I'm positive that's what's going on. So
Fucked up.
because
My
I
wife
did that
told
too.
me to join this shit when I was in multiple different groups, right? And she was like, "Yeah, you should join that one." Yeah, I agree.
Based. But anyway, he's not talking to me. It's kind of annoying,
Sucks,
but
man.
I remember how it is.
We lost a
I
guy
can show
to
you
the
pictures.
knocks from the feds. We lost our photographer.
Why did that stop him? Big deal. Who cares if the feds are there?
He was fucking telling his mom everything. He's a mama's boy, and he got scared that they'd talk to her, and he left.
Dude, what a faggot. I want a faggot. Who was this? I'm gonna mess on Telegram like, dude, you're a faggot. Your mama's boy, you're a faggot. And he's like, dude, shut up, man.
Christopher, Missouri. Skinny one. The one with the training.
Oh, my God. I don't remember, to be honest. Oh, well. I'll pretend I don't remember. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that and just continue not knowing who he is so I don't feel as disappointed. Dude, we had Marcus Florida. He was like 2. He told his parents like everything. And then like they were like, you got it. They said to him, you need to like leave that organization. You need to change your opinions on racism or we're going to kick you out. So he did. He left and listened. I was like, dude, what the fuck? I told him like, okay, well.
What a beta male.
If you're gonna do that, at least do a whole 180 and say you're gay and you love George Floyd and just an anarchist and just ream your parents with like stupid bullshit, and so that they wish you were racist. Just be even more annoying, And then call them racist.
That's a good idea. That's really funny, actually.
That's what I'd do if I was in his position.
Yeah.
How old are these guys where they're getting threatened to get kicked out of their houses though?
I'm
He's like
cut my
18.
dick off now, Mom.
Yeah, no,
You're
I
gonna have
keep going. My
grandkids now,
parents,
Mom.
my parents sometimes pull this thing. My dad's like, yeah, well, every empire is always crumbled. Nothing ever works. And I always pull the, okay, well, I'm just gonna go do heroin and kill myself then. Like, what do you say about that? Like, why shouldn't I just go kill myself if nothing matters and everything crumbles and falls apart? It's like, I told him, like, I got a big fight with my parents, actually. But I told my dad, like, you're like a nihilist, but like of all like the worst parts, okay? That's like, it's not like a cool nihilism where you have no eyebrows and you are all black and we can go to continent. It's like the just boomer, like, oh, I'm gonna die tomorrow anyway. Who cares? It's just like the worst, lamest nihilism.
So empty. Like no philosophy behind it.
Yeah, it's like you could be like Marilyn Manson, but instead you just cringe. But then again, if you act like Marilyn Manson, he would make Manson
funny.
cringe too. So I guess it's better that he doesn't do that.
And if empires fall apart, shouldn't you just like start working on the next one?
Ask him why the hell he
Exactly.
had kids if he didn't care about, like, what the fuck?
No, but I mean, he would just say, but it's futile. You gotta try something different, something no one's ever thought of before. I'm like, no, not really. That's not how it works. He just gives some stupid answer because he doesn't. Really, I'm like, you got a lot of opinions for an armchair revolutionary. Anyway,
It's alright, my dad's got wet brain from alcohol, so he can't even have a coherent sentence, I feel it.
I honestly, like, dude, like, when I argue with him, it's like not even have an argument. He'll like spray a variety of statements and then like straw man accusations, followed by insults, and like you can't argue with that because there's nothing to argue with. It's just like random bullshit, and then he'll like go off and say, "I can't believe you have a history degree and you deny the Holocaust." I'm like, who cares about the Holocaust? It doesn't. It was 100 years ago. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. He's like, it is. The shoes.
The
fucking
shoes,
shoes.
huh? I don't even know what the shoes
shoes
are anymore. What are the shoes?
Like, like the big piles of shoes or whatever. Like, this is evidence the Holocaust
I thought
happened.
they were gonna say that we're making them into shoes now.
Well, I mean, they said they were making them into soap, so honestly, making them into shoes is a
And
little more
lampshades.
believable.
Shoes aren't out of the picture.
Yeah, like, I mean, at least human skin could be turned to leather, I guess. Like the fat from the soap. Like, okay, if you hate Jews so much, I think they're disgusting. Why would you wash yourself with them?
Right.
Because they're jealous of them, duh.
Yeah, the whole thing's a hoax. And like, dude, they just
We're
like
jealous
start
of
like
them.
they start pogging out, and I was like, I think that the worst part about all this is like not really that I was being harassed by this conversation again, but I kind of like lost my center. I kind of like blew up on it, and that's what I was really mad about. More mad at myself for blowing up, like that I allowed them to like get under my skin like that. But I was like, dude, if you like these fucking niggers so much, like when I go live with them, like you sit here in your literal ivory tower, in the whitest part of Florida, like a real expensive, nice place. There's no niggers, and you just spout off how much you love diversity. Like it's horseshit. Like shut up.
Sorry,
Anyway.
man. I mean, I told one of our guys he was a fucking idiot in front of 13 guys over this last act or something.
Yeah. But anyway, I kind of blew up, and then my mom wanted me to help her like do some maintenance around the house, but I told her like, no, I'm not gonna help you. Like I'm pissed. I haven't really talked to them the last couple days now. But anyway.
I see. I moved out at 17, and I lived a very crazy life after that. So the route best taken is a confusing one.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I was like, I'm reading this book on how to live out of my car, but like, I could just live at work, I guess, maybe, but like, it would get kind of like, I'd probably
Out of your
piss
car,
off my
holy
boss.
fuck! How about you move to? How about you just come on over here to Missouri, live like on the other side, of Jefferson City, and then you can be the future network director of Western Missouri. Then you can just live in my house. There you go.
Well, an opportunity did present itself actually to move. This guy, that's my dad's friend, he owns like campsites or whatever in New Hampshire, and he can't find work apparently. And he's like, hey, my dad's like, hey, if you want to like move to New Hampshire and do that, you could. And I was like, oh, I'll think about it. But I asked Thomas like, hey, what if I left right now? Do you think that would be extremely detrimental to the organization? He's like, yeah, dude, if you left like
if you left Florida right now,
yeah, yeah, like Network 16 would probably dissolve. Like, I was like, okay, then yeah, like my main priority, like it's just a job, you know. I've got a job. I don't need it. It's like, sure, I could pay $10 more. I could live on a campsite, which would be kind of cool.
Dude,
but like New England's good, you know. Like they don't need me there.
If I left, man, my guys would be devastated. I mean, absolutely devastated.
I mean, when I left Network 8, Washington collapsed. Like we lost everyone.
Holy shit!
Like everyone that you're talking to here with the Washington name is new. Like it was. Like me and John, I mean, even then, I'm the oldest member of Network 8 of the original one, you know, and I'm not even in it anymore. And I moved.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah. Like.
Weird. How many guys were in Washington when you first started?
It was 7 of us in total. I was the 7th one to join.
Holy shit, 7 of you.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is 3 years ago.
Man, that'd be crazy if I would join 7 guys.
Yeah. So anyway, I joined and man, all right. Have you seen like old Patriot Front, like just like how it was? Like you guys like aware?
Sounds pretty.
Like I wasn't there for when we were on Discord, but I joined right after the transition from Discord to Rocket Chat, pretty much, because you know when you type in the server URL, it's PF3618. It's 3618 because it's March 6th, 2018. So. That's the day we got Rocket Chat.
Wow.
Anyway, I joined in June of 2018. And so, yeah, right after, we just really started Rocket Chat. But, like, dude, it was, like, a totally different organization. Like, it was, like, me, Felix, Chad, Joe, Josh, and Lewis. So let's go through the lineup. Oh, and Jake. I guess I was number 8, come to think of it. So Jake was a retarded skinhead. No, it's still 7. It's still 7. Yeah, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. So Jake was a retarded skinhead by like all metrics. Like every 5 seconds he would tell racist jokes. He'd be throwing Romans constantly. Yeah. Anyway, he was just cringe. Lewis was like a weirdo, maybe a closet homo, and just like like dude, this guy. Okay, he lives in like Marysville, like Smoky Point, Washington. He never came out. He did activism a couple times, but anytime I would go do activism with him, it had to be in Smoky Point. I have to drive all the way up there to see him just so we could go sticker some parking lots, and that was like a big deal. Actually, not sticker. We didn't have stickers at the time. We had the big 11x8 sheets of paper posters we had to print out at Office Max and put up with staple guns and spray glue. You know, that was back in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, and so Josh. Oh, Vincent, do you want to say something?
I was gonna say, can you get that back in? That's in my area.
Trust me, you don't want Lewis back. Trust me, you don't. And then there was Josh. Josh was, I still talk to him actually, but anyway, he's the only person I've met that's Fed posted himself into a cell twice.
Jesus.
Yeah, anyway, I'll let that lay as it is. That should be enough explanation. And then there was Chad. Chad was pretty solid. Really good guy. He was there up until the end of Network 8, actually, as it stood. And then there was Joe. Joe was a pothead. And, like, dude, we would go on, like, you know, poster runs or sticker runs in Seattle. He'd just start lighting up a blunt afterwards, like, right after we put up, like, Reject Poison stickers. Like, it was crazy. And then there was Felix, who was, like, the leader. You know, Felix was the director at the time.
What happened to the director?
Oh, okay, here you go. So Felix, to give you a reference, okay, here's how my interview went. So I meet him at Safeway, which is a grocery store. We're hanging out the front, and you know him and I are talking. He's like a bit overweight, but it's like whatever. And we you know what we did for my interview? We sat there and we talked about how he was going to help me put my AR-15 together if I were to ever get one.
Oh my god,
fucking idiot!
That was the interview. Was to sit out front of Safeway and talk about assembling, milling out your own AR-15.
Ooh.
And then we went and put up some
posters. It's like a Fed's wet dream.
I know, it was like... This is the director. This is the director of Network 8.
What are the oldest directors we have?
And then another thing, so later on, throughout his time in the organization, one time, here's a quote from him. When it came to regarding his physical fitness, he said, "Yeah, it's okay. I'll just be the one fat guy that doesn't work out." That was his opinion on when asked like about improving his physique. I'll just be the one fat guy in the group.
Oh my god.
When we went on a hike and like he wore like a Fast Wave Tendies t-shirt and he like conked out like not even halfway up the hike. I mean, in all fairness, like his life was like he just had a kid, he had a new job as like an EM or whatever, and so like it's like he didn't really have any sleep ever on top of his like bad, physical shape to begin with, and so it's like him being unable to do the hike was not all that surprising, but still. Anyway,
No excuse.
Yeah, but either way, the whole thing was like such a mess. Like Network 8, and I remember we would meet up like once a month to go put up posters and do like or slash stickers. That was it, in one location, and then go home. Like,
Not even like a banner drop?
Nope. We did actually one big action, and it was after Network 8 had kind of crashed. Network 8 had kind of crashed, and it was just 4 of us. So Josh, he quit. Lewis, he quit because Josh quit. Jake, he quit because he got doxxed, unsurprisingly. And so then it was just the 4 of us. It was me, Chad, Joe, and Felix. And the one big great action we did is we distributed like 2,000 pieces of pro mat in one night. We had them like little flyers and baggies filled with rocks. We drove all around Western Washington, tossed them in people's driveways, and then we finished the action with the banner drop over the portal to Seattle, which is on the I-95 going into Seattle from big major highway. We had a communism, not here, not ever banner that we put over the highway. It was really cool. That was our big action. So, but after that, we never really did anything bigger than that. But yeah, we also don't do that form of activism anymore, the baggies in the driveways, because like if you're taking your car out, you get people start getting doxxed from that, because like all it takes is one house with a security camera and they got you pretty much, which is exactly what happened to someone. Also, I crashed my car that night. Someone crashed into me. So that sucked. And then I had to have the car towed to my girlfriend's house, and I was still in the middle of the action. I didn't go back to her place, because I was like, well, dude, she's like, an hour or 2 hours away in Monroe. Like, I'm not going to leave Seattle right now when we're in the middle of an action and they need me here. So that was really awkward. And I had my, like, smashed car dumped in front of her parents' place for a couple days. It was so bad.
That's funny.
It was so bad.
That's terrible, man. That's all you guys did. Yesterday, we did 6 stencil locations, 7 colleges. We hit probably like 25 different locations in the city. And it's so sad, man.
Yeah, but, we would get a guy and we'd lose a guy. And it wasn't until this one guy came along. I really liked him. He was like super solid. Ralph Washington. And I always thought we were going to be like real good friends, But sadly, because of the state Network 8 was in, he eventually got pissed off and he left, and he was like, where are the National Socialist Warriors? Like, this is bullshit. Like, you guys aren't actually doing anything. This group sucks. And I was like, yeah, I have to agree with you. Like, this does suck, And he said, I'm going to do my own thing, but like, how about you and I do it? And I was like, oh, okay, well, what's your idea? And he said, all right, well, we're going to have to meet up together at least once a week minimum. And I was like, well, I'm like a 3-hour drive from you, so I don't know about that. That's going to work. And I'm at school full time. He's like, okay, well, it didn't happen. But that stuck with me, though. The 1 action a week thing, I took his advice, and I started doing that. Every week I go out, and I started just doing a sticker run. I'd hit one spot, I started doing 2 and then 3, each week, doing a big chain, and next thing you know, everyone started doing 1 action a week, and it kind of like became a standard after that, because that one guy, 1 action a week became, because I was also doing interviews, and we started asking that question, and everyone else started catching on like that idea of like, yeah, you need to get at least one thing done a week, or be like actively involved in some capacity, and so now 1 action a week is a standard in the organization, because it just took one, maybe it wasn't me, but like, I know I definitely kind of started coming when I started doing that and started spouting that idea off, like, yeah, dude, like, you need to get 1 action in,
I've been working on trying to get network meetings to be freaking mandatory once a week.
Yep, I do the same thing. Mandatory meetings once a week.
They should be. I do regional meetings every single week, but because Network 8 is having a meeting tomorrow, I've just decided to parallel the two.
Sure. I mean, Alexander, do you attend the Network 8 meetings still? Is that what you mean?
No, I'm gonna John's hosting some sort of meeting, and he mentioned it in the Oregon regional chat. So I just decided not to do my normal Sunday meeting.
All right, perfect. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you guys in Oregon and everyone south of Centralia, or however the network boundary is defined. Personally, I'd say everyone south of Centralia is Portland area. That's how, because like Centralia is halfway between Tacoma and halfway between Portland, which puts Jack in a bit of a precarious situation, but he's in Network 8.
Yeah, I mean, I basically consider Jack, and is Don still in the... I actually haven't talked to Don in a while. Don Washington? Ethan Vincent, have you heard from him recently? I know he had surgery.
He's not in our network.
Oh.
He's in yours. If you haven't heard from him, then I bet no one else has either. You know, you gotta reach out, I guess.
Okay, I guess I'll message him.
All right, yeah. You get out of here, fellas. See you, Lawrence. See you guys.
Nobody had told me that he was part of the Oregon Regional.
He's in the group chat, isn't he?
Actually, I don't know. I will check.
Well, I'm not in there, so I can't check for you. But he's in Vancouver, I'm pretty sure, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I was gonna mention, we did some Portland stuff yesterday, and I thought about Don afterwards, thinking, oh, we should have invited Don. But I didn't think about that because he's not within our network, and I only thought about the Portland people.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, but yeah, I remember then John came along, I was part of the organization for a year, and then he knew about it the whole time, but he kind of came on his own, eventually, which is a really good, which turned out really well in our favor, because since then, he's been real committed, really into it. But if I had pushed him beforehand, it wouldn't have turned out as good. So I'm glad we allowed it to, do its thing, basically. And then he came along, and it was awesome. We had John and me and, a couple other guys had a really solid network for a while. And it was growing pretty big. And eventually, I decided I needed to leave Washington. I needed to move out of this, house that was turning into a disaster house and just go live with my parents for free. So I did really suddenly. And there was already some tension in the network between John and Chad and the idea of changing leadership. And so I didn't really know what to do because, no matter what I did, it was going to end badly. I could pick one, but, neither at the time was suitable for the position of director, I felt. And so my plan was kind of well, I'm going to sit back and let them fight over it and see who wins out on top. Who's the stronger one? Who's going to win? So I did. And they fought about it. They got really mad. They both got pretty mad at me. But John proved to be the stronger, and that's why he's your director now. Because we were all banned, by the way. All of us. Everyone in Network 8 got banned. But only John and I returned.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
He was talking about that before.
That was a really interesting situation.
Yeah, the people...
Sorry, what?
The prime organizers for getting everyone from Washington and Oregon and Idaho over to Utah for the Salt Lake City demo all got banned all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. David's not in here. Dang it. I wanted to ask, what was that car ride like?
Oh, my God. Yeah, apparently John and George just the whole time talked like George Floyd, but she.
I remember at the camp when he got there, he was so tired of nigger speak that any person he heard speaking like that, he was like, "Shut up, no nigger speak."
Thanks to David. No, but God, I don't understand. People It's like, man, I hate black people so much. Let's spend all of our time talking about them and thinking about black people. Like, dude, shut up. God, just, I don't want to look at them. I don't want to think about them. I don't want anything to do with them. What's the whole point of being a white nationalist and doing these sorts of groups to get away from them? Like,
Yeah,
oh my
exactly.
God.
Well, he told me about the drive a little bit, and he had said, I think that was the action where they got into an accident, and that they hit an animal along the way, or maybe it was snowing the whole way, so they had to drive 20 miles per hour or less.
Yeah,
I thought it was an elk. It was a deer?
An elk, something like that. But dude, fucking, what was his name? That one retard pagan guy. Not the being pagan made him retarded, but he was just retarded. And it just so happens to be pagan too. He was, God, fuck that guy. He was such a prick. Like, anyway, he was there and he was driving the thing and he decided not to get insurance because he didn't want to pay the extra $20. And so he had to end up paying like thousands of dollars for the bumper that they like wrecked. He was such an idiot.
Yeah.
Oh, Philip Washington, dude, screw that guy. Never liked him. He was so unreliable, so annoying to deal with. God, I don't know why I didn't just delete him. But I mean, we deleted him eventually because like he went to Salt Lake City and I met him and he seemed kind of okay. But like I just knew like, oh, back of my head, like, dude, this guy's a massive prick and he's unreliable as hell. So yeah, screw him. I'm glad he's gone. You guys don't have to suffer the unresponsiveness of the dreaded Philip Washington. I think very little. Oh God, and Carter. Oh my God, dude, Carter Washington, who lives like kind of like close to John. When we were all kicked out, it fell on to Carter because he was like, you know, responsive and semi-reliable. It fell onto him to like get people like, you know, kind of relay messages back and forth. And the day came for Trip, okay? You know what this guy did? He quit. He's like, oh my God, you guys aren't telling me the final location, and I'm supposed to go as people here, and I'm like the acting director now, and like, I can't do this. I'm so done. This Patriont's bad. And I was like, oh my God, like, I never want to see that man again. I swear to God. Like,
oh my God.
He's the absolute lowest on my list of people. Because, like, the day of, we trusted him to, like, get people. And then people were going to go and they missed out because Carter screwed up and didn't, you know, he screwed up the plan. And people missed out because of him. Like, he dropped the ball. He went back on his word. He screwed other guys out of going into the action. And he quit on top of it. Like, yeah. Terrible guy. Apparently, John still sees him. Sometimes he rides his ass in his truck and stuff like that. And just like harasses him on the road.
That sounds like something John does.
Yeah, he just kind of harasses him on the road now whenever he sees him. but yeah.
It's that Sigma grind set right there, man.
yeah, and this guy, okay, like, dude, his brother was really weird too. Like, his brother would always be at all our actions, but he never became a real member. And he had like a bunch of weird, shady stuff. And he told me like, hey man, if you want like a pallet of guns delivered to you, it can make it happen. I was like, okay, what? Anyway, they're both fun. Screw them. And they were like, yo, we were like ex-military special ops guys. I've got like a master's degree. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And like, they're just retards. They're literally just both fat retards. That's the truth of it. And so thankfully they're gone. But anyway, this network that exists now, super solid, super happy with all the guys we have here right now. I met all you guys at Mount Rainier. It was awesome. It's so good to see that, you know, despite me not being there, it's taking off and it's thriving. It's bigger than it ever has been. You know, one of the problems with Network 8 is it could never go past 8 members at one time.
Oh, we're back down to 7.
Well, that's how it is. You know, 8. If you have 8 super solid people, like, that's really all you need. Like, we had 4 people and we were able to cover half the state in ProMat, you know, in one night. Like, we started at 10 p.m. and finished at 8 in the morning with a big banner drop.
Oof.
So,
dude,
yeah, you guys are set.
I miss having a guy in the Salem area. I don't miss Andrew, but I mean, God, Norman is awesome. Like, I still talk to him a lot. I've done actions with him in Portland since he left, but man, he needs to like deal with that whole wife situation that he's got going on, because he misses doing activism. He's such a solid guy, and when it was like just him and Leo up there in Portland, that was great. Portland was getting a lot more attention than it needed.
My girlfriend was like that. Well, to be fair, I was kind of stupid with it. She didn't care about it for like most of the 2 years we were together, but like she got really butthurt about it when she had to take all my photos of me off her Instagram, and then I told her, anyway, I wasn't allowed to just be on the internet at all because girls are weird. Well, it's not that weird. They're just like that, okay? Like
yeah, they like flaunting that they have a cool guy or an attractive person, whatever.
Yeah,
There's
I
something
get
to
that.
do.
Like if you were to get rid of Instagram likes, okay, women would like go nuts, like because like they build like their identity around like their Instagram persona.
Yeah, I mean that's we all know the reason why, but it's just it won't be that way after we win.
Yeah. If I have it my way, there won't be an Instagram. So
I mean, kind of agree, dude. Like,
you'll have to actually be pretty in real life.
I'll
be happy for it too.
I managed like 2 Instagram pages for places that I worked at, and it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, but anyway, so that was a big problem for her. Like, dude, she was like crying when she had to like. She couldn't do it. I had to delete the photos of me off her Instagram myself because she refused to do it. It was like too hard for her. I remember that. She was so mad. But anyway, I was also kind of stupid with my activism because I started doing the once a week thing. I just started doing several different parts of the town. And I basically like did her neighborhood or like the bus stop that she'd always take to work, and people were like writing graffiti on there. It's like "fuck Patriot front," and she's like, "Oh my god, that's like they're attacking my boyfriend. That means they're attacking me. I'm unsafe, and he's an unsafe. He's a dangerous person. Dangerous to me," which is true. But anyway, it was like a super hostile, super like ultra liberal little town, and like she'd finally just made like some new friends, and I didn't really like all that much. And like I didn't really have any friends at the time, like at all. I had like no friends because I don't know, just didn't. And so anyway, eventually like she didn't like really see activism as being a useful time because the network wasn't going anywhere. It sucked. Like I was putting all this time and effort in for guys that would only half-ass things and eventually quit, and they just weren't getting any results. And I remember like she's like, "I think activism's dumb and it doesn't work," and I was like, "Wow, like we're basically over." It wasn't officially over that day, but it was pretty much over.
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, she doesn't support this idea that she doesn't support us having a future. She doesn't support me," and like we had a myriad of other problems too. But anyway, I didn't leave her right then and there because I was like, shit, imagine living life with no pussy. I didn't want to think about that. And then eventually it fell apart, and then I had none, and so that sucked for a long time. But things are great after that though. Yeah, sure, like no more girlfriend, but things took off. They took off so much. Okay, I think it was around that time John came. I don't remember. Maybe he came. No, he came in January. I remember now. His account was made in January, so right after that happened, John came around, and so then things like took off so much. Like we were doing activism everywhere. Like we were in the news every week. They like built a statue in Ferndale because we stickered it so many times. We were like, just everywhere. Washington State, as claimed by, one of the Antifa groups, is now a fascist stronghold, and it is, and it's staying like that now because you guys are here making it that way. That was pretty awesome.
We're gonna have that with Oregon soon. I can feel it, man.
Yes. I'd like to see a little more action on the Olympic Peninsula, Bremerton, and things like that. You guys did a banner drop there recently, didn't you?
Yeah, we got out there. We did one in, I forget. Yeah, one of them was in Bremerton, and then the other one, I forget. It was by the Purdy Bridge.
Silverdale, Gig Harbor. Port Townsend? Any of those names ring a bell?
It's kind of like between Gig Harbor and Bremerton.
Oh, Port Orchard?
Yeah, kind of. You know where the Pretty Bridge is, right?
I think so. The name rings a bell. I think that might be Port Orchard. I don't know.
Yeah, basically.
Good, man. Good to hear. That's great.
But those got torn down super quick.
That's how it is.
It seems like this Auburn one we did yesterday is like the longest lasting one so far because John tried to go and get footage of it or whatever, but the sun, like the way the sun set, you know, heading westbound, like it was just shining through the banner and it was all washed out and shitty. And then I just had a feeling, so when I was about to go out and sticker this morning, I went by there first and it was still up and I got a little shot of it, so.
Nice. That's good to hear, man. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Nah.
She lives there now, so if you ever want to go give my ex-girlfriend some hell, go raid Bremerton for me. You know, I don't think she knows. She doesn't know anything about me. She doesn't know, like, because well, I'm blocked. She blocked me, actually, because last time I talked to her, it was like a year ago now, and we'd already been apart for a year at the time. And so I messaged her on Instagram, like, hey, you know, you want to, like, talk about everything that happened, like, do an evaluation of, like, why it didn't work. And she can't take criticism. And I basically told her, like, yeah, I think, like, you got a lot of problems. And she just got super mad, like, as she always does. She took it super personally. And in the end, she blocked me. But honestly, it was, like, the best thing she ever did to me, or did for me. But, so I don't know anything about her. She doesn't know anything about me. So, she probably, if you do activism out there, she was probably going to assume it's me. So, the ghost.
Yeah, I was just going to say the ghost of Lawrence.
Yeah, she never got away. But the thing is, though, she'll never dox me, because if she does, she's like, she'll know that, like, the second she says anything or if I get in trouble, like, dude, she goes down the shitter too.
Yeah.
Old blackmail situation.
Pretty much unintentional, though, because one of the reasons she broke up, she's like, because when we had that conversation about it, she's like, activism doesn't work. She's like, I'm not willing to commit social suicide for you or for this. I was like, damn, okay. Like, the opinions of, like, people you never met matter so, and who don't care about you matter so much more than, like, what we've got going. Okay. Can't say I don't understand it, but, like, it's always that. Okay, when you get doxxed, it's never from, like, you know, you're never going to get, okay, you might get harassed by Antifa, you might get annoyed by journalists or whatever, but that doesn't hurt. You can brush it off, but it's always the people who are closest to you stab you in the back first, and that's what always hurts the most, because you never see it coming. And I had that happen twice. First, all my old friends that all, like, just ditch me, and then, you know, they all stab me in the back, and then, you know, a year later, girlfriend does the same thing. But anyway, I'm better for it now. I'm better without them. She really did hold me back in a lot of ways, but kind of gotten to a point where I don't really want one. You know, don't really want a new girlfriend. And I see some of these other guys, you know, like, I got a guy in Florida right now who's like, he's just like me. And he's got, like, his first, like, real girlfriend, and, like, it's like watching a train. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion. Like, remember that guy Matthew Washington? Same thing, just like me. Nothing you do to help him. You just gotta let him crash and burn, and he'll figure it out. You know, just be ready to put all the pieces back together, make them something better. Anyway.
I mean, I miss being married.
Yeah. What happened with that?
She's infertile, so we got a divorce.
Well, that's a shame. Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it was only like 3 days before the Mount Rainier hike.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that.
Oh, it's all good, man.
you with her?
Almost 3 years.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Dude, it was great. Like, okay, I don't do activism with unaffiliates, but she's the only person I ever did activism with because she was so freaking pumped for it. Like, oh my God, dude. She loved just going out there and stickering, just taking the pictures for me. Oh, man.
That's funny.
Yeah, I took my ex-girlfriend stickering once. She didn't really like it, though. But I think that's part of the reason why she won't dox me. Because, like, if she says anything, it's like, well, to be fair, you did white supremacist activism, too, at one point, you know? So, I don't know. I mean, I was just telling these guys, like, you don't tell these girlfriends about Patriot Front, but if you do, and they try and take you down, make sure you bring them down with you. Because, like, you can get doxxed, okay? Like, as a man, you can get doxxed and you can come back from it. You can be ostracized and outcast. Women can't. Like, women, like, that's why they fall into, like, these traps, like prostitution, and, you know, they fall for, like, pimps and things like that, because, like, at least the pimp is, like, kind of takes care of them, accepts them. They just can't handle it like men can. You know, to be rejected by the group like that, they literally just, it is death for them. It's worse than death. But
if I got doxxed, I don't think my immediate family would really even be like surprised.
No, my family wouldn't either. Like
the shit I talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but no, like Alex, I mean, you're like, well, I mean, it's already done, I guess. So you already made your decision.
I probably wouldn't be invited to Thanksgiving and Christmas anymore.
Actually, I did not make the decision.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, like, I was gonna say, like, you know, maybe you could like adopt a kid. Or, I don't know if that's what you want.
I don't believe in adoption personally. Adoption's good, yes, but I believe in having about 12 of my own kids that are mine, genetically speaking, because my line will die with me if I don't have kids. That's it. Like my parents, like, they only had me and my sister, and my sister's never gonna get married or anything like that.
Yeah. I think you like. I mean, like I said, it's already done. But like, you probably don't want to hear any. But it's already hard enough as it is.
We'd already been discussing it for like a few weeks before the decision was finalized. So, I mean, I contemplated a lot of different things, but I'm not willing to budge on my moral convictions, nor was she. So we were at an impasse.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe get like a concubine, but I don't know. You know, they've always had concubines in the past. You know, just like.
Like I said, we talked about every option. Yeah.
Well, that sucks a lot, man. I'm really sorry to hear that.
Hey, thank you. I do appreciate it. I don't like to dwell on it. I try and focus a lot of my energy. Well, one, I'm working constantly, and then I get off of work, I start work again.
Yeah.
But, you know, I love both my jobs, so.
True. Very true.
And then I have to deal with like a whole moving situation and trying to somehow balance my own personal faith in there, which means I'm busy all the time.
That's fair, man. Well, I don't remember where I heard that. It was like, being like super I think it was in that one book. It's like anyway, it's about breaking addictions, but anyway, it's like about being super optimistic. It's like if you don't get what you want in life, just know that you're gonna get something better later on. It's kind of how you have to look at it. I like that way of thinking about things. Dude, I remember like I was on the beach this one time, and like there was this girl, this like fucking massive rack, and I wanted to go talk to her, and then like this boomer neighbor kept talking to me, and then she eventually left. I was like, fuck, dude, this guy totally cock blocked me with like boomer questions, and I was gonna get to talk to Big Rack. It sucked so hard. But I was like telling myself, well, but what? She may have been she may have been Big Rack, but you know what? Like she wasn't that tall anyway. So maybe I'm always gonna get something better later on.
Well, I mean, physically speaking, the perfect woman will never exist in life. Imperfections will always exist, especially when it comes to ideology. Most good women out there won't start off as a white nationalist. They're very far and few in between, and the ones that are white nationalists, they get swept up pretty quickly.
Or they're crazy.
Well, yeah, that's also another one.
Making my wife laugh in here.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, women who are, like, on their own, okay, like, typically women don't care about politics, Yeah. And if they do, it's like, some frenzied, super popular thing that they latch onto because it takes absolutely no risk. It's, it's basically virtue signaling. It's a popular idea. They latch onto the winning idea. When there's a woman who's all alone and she latches onto what is essentially an unpopular idea, a dangerous idea, that's not normal. That's really concerning. There's something going on here. So, but if like her husband is like believes that, then yeah, it makes sense for her to believe it too, because that's what they do. Like, I mean, I remember one of the gripes my girlfriend had was like, she's like, you made me racist and blah, 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 and hateful. And I was like, yeah, kind of, like, that's kind of inevitable. But honestly, like, the hateful, like, frigid bitch part, that could have been avoided if I hadn't have been, like, such a, black-pilled, like, faggot a lot of the time. So, it did suck. It did suck to make her into that, She was a really nice, sweet girl, and it just kind of ruined her with my own bullshit. I regret it, but it's nothing really to regret, but I don't like that's how it went. But anyway, I'm glad I talked to her because I took all of her advice and I went with it, and I've been far better since then. But yeah.
Yeah. On an unrelated note, so like a few months ago, Frederick, Oregon put up a bunch of stickers in Bend, like over a couple hundred. They still keep finding them, and they think that we're just really, really active there. It's hilarious. I don't know if Walter's ever sending these in, but he'll post them in the Oregon regional chat. I don't know why he's still. Oh, wait, no, I know why he's in there. It's for advice reasons.
Oh, really?
Good. But he posts them, and it's absolutely hilarious seeing these fucking leftist spurgs on Twitter be like, "Oh my God, these Patriot Front guys, they're in Bend." And then I put up 4 stickers in Corvallis. Andrew Oregon has the pictures of those, so I didn't get to upload them. But they found those immediately, and they immediately Twitter posted about it. It's hilarious. Like, Corvallis is like the basically the stronghold of Antifa in Northern Oregon. Surprisingly enough, it's not Portland. Most of their stuff is coordinated down there. Just because, well, it's like roughly an hour and a half-ish, so it's not that far. But it's also a very, very isolated, traditionally Northern Oregon college town, and very liberal college town, I might add.
Corvallis. Is that like a northwestern of Portland?
If you know where Salem's at, it's southwest of Salem.
Oh, okay, yeah, there it is. Interesting. So they're all sitting in Corvallis. Awesome, dude. Let's hit them at home. So, speaking of which, there's in Bremerton, there's a punk venue called the Charleston. And we would always like walk past with Better Dozen red stickers and put them on their door and do dabs as we walked by. So we'd get that on security camera. That's dabbing and sticking their place.
And the thing about doing activism in Salem and certain parts of Corvallis, just because I've done it in both those towns, you have to be really careful along the main street of Salem, because most of the businesses there are BIPOC.
Oh, yeah.
And all of them tend to only hire leftist people. So they're all in the channels. The Rose City, I think, is what that one's called. I can't remember.
I think Rose City is Atlanta.
Yeah, I get their names all jumbled up because each chapter has some gay sounding name, and then they all use dumb gay fake names. If you know anyone I knew a guy named Raccoon. Literally, his name was Raccoon. That was his fake name. I don't get it, but whatever. It's a cool name, but it sounds more normal if I'm like, hey, Ethan, or you're like, hey, Alex, instead of being like, hey, Foxtrot, or hey, Raccoon. That just sounds
like
really
a kind of
dumb.
thing they do too. Like, don't they like tend to adopt names like Dirt Stain? Like my street name's Dirt Stain.
Yeah, some chapters, a New York City chapter did that for a while.
Yeah.
But this one cafe in Salem, Norman, Oregon, got a picture of the behind. Obviously, if you've ever interacted with Norman when he was in the organization, he is really, really good about not being identifiable. He's a great gray man if you've ever done activism with him. That's why I miss him so much. They got a picture of him. They could not identify him at all. It was great.
Based. I was a better gray man in Washington. In Florida, I feel like I stick out a lot. So I need to change my outfit too, I think.
Man, in just my day-to-day life outside of activism, I do like to wear a Hawaiian t-shirt. So maybe I'd fit in down there.
I don't know. No one really wears Hawaiian shirts. Oh, maybe I do. I just don't notice. Maybe.
I mean, look, if you're the kind of guy that wears a Hawaiian t-shirt, you notice. It's like, I also, I wear a cowboy hat. That's not even a Thomas LARP. I've just always liked cowboy hats. So, the first thing I ever noticed about Thomas was the hat. Just because,
That was the first thing I saw when I saw Thomas. I was in a van. We drove from Atlanta to D.C. in one day. Well, we drove from Vero Beach, Florida to D.C. in one day. And I remember I had half an hour of sleep. And I was in this van, and I kind of looked out the window through my crusted over eyes, and I was exhausted. And I saw Thomas's hat walking towards the van. I was like, "It's him, to Thomas." That was so bizarre. Yeah,
dude.
What a time.
Does he have a beard now? I have not seen him since Salt Lake. Oh my god, that's based.